Hi, it's Brian from Wachusett Vineyards. Today is 4th of July 2022, so happy Independence Day. Here it is midsummer, beautiful, lovely day up here in the vineyard. This is our first ever video from the vineyard, which we thought would be maybe a nice idea since we don't have a tasting room up here yet. Little side story, we had hoped to break ground this year on an integrated tasting room and family farmhouse up here at the vineyard. But with the economy being just what it is and just absolutely insane, prices ended up being a lot more than we expected them to be this year. So we're expecting things are going to cool down and we'll take another swing at the bat maybe next year. We'll just sort of see how things go. We'd really love to live up here and to among the vines and to be able to welcome the public to a nice little tasting room. But it's not meant to be just yet, so we're trying to be patient. In the meantime, we figured we'd check in periodically and give you sort of a virtual tour from the vineyard. So here we are in the midst of the vineyard, and the first thing you'll probably notice is that this row, the grapes on this side, are much larger and much more robust looking than the grapes on this side, and that's simply because they're two different varieties. Over here on the left, this is Marquette, and on the right, this is Petite Pearl. And although the Marquette vines are considerably larger than the Petite Pearl vines, Petite Pearl is quite a producer also. We last year harvested just about as much Petite Pearl as we did Marquette. So Marquette produces this incredibly dense, rich canopy, and you can see that there are green berries that are already starting to fill out. They haven't turned color yet. That won't happen until probably about a month or so from now. They'll start to turn purple, and then they'll start to pack on sugar and start to ripen up. Over here on this side, again, this is Petite Pearl. You can see these clusters are filling out also. Just very interesting how each variety has its own sort of personality. You can almost identify Petite Pearl by its canes, the color of the canes. You can see which have this nice sort of beautiful burgundy red on the cane, whereas over here, Marquette's canes are pretty much green. But an impressive sight, Marquette. To see these vines, which are now 5 years old, really coming into full production is pretty gratifying, actually. Last year, I'd have to go back and check the numbers, but I think we harvested probably about 400 pounds of Marquette and about 400 pounds of Petite Pearl, somewhere around there. So both of them are very productive varieties. And these two varieties, when we blend them together, that is what we're calling our American Rustique blend. And they seem to complement each other very well because Marquette has a lot of really nice fruit flavor to it. It can be lacking in tannin. Petite Pearl, on the other hand, has a very good tannic structure. So the two of them, when blended together in a roughly 50-50 blend, it changes a little bit from year to year, but that's what we're calling our American Rustique blend. Here you're looking at a Seyval Blanc vine. These rows here are all Seyval Blanc. Seyval Blanc, we found it to be, in the winery, a wonderful grape to work with. It produces some of our favorite wines. It produces our Bird on a Wire blend, and it also produces our Seyval Vie blend. It's a versatile grape to make into wine. It can be made either sweet, it can be made off-dry, bone-dry, lots of beautiful flavors of stone fruit and tropical fruits. Wonderful, wonderful grape to work with. It can be a little bit finicky out here in the vineyard, we found. We had a little bit of dieback. If you look down the rows, you can see that we lost a few vines over the winter. That's okay. We've also got some that are late bloomers. They broke bud late, and you can see if you compare them to the Marquette and the rows next to them, there's not even nearly as much vegetative growth on them here in July as there is on the Marquette. Experience tells us that they will catch up. I think by harvest time, these vines are also going to be absolutely loaded with fruit, because some of them are bearing quite a large number of clusters. You can see here there are just clusters all through there. So these canes will lengthen in the coming weeks, and by harvest time, I think we'll see that there's a lot of foliage, and there's going to be a lot of grapes too. And Seyval Blanc clusters tend to be large and heavy. So this cluster right here, while it doesn't look like much now, that could very well end up weighing, I don't know, a pound, just that cluster right there, or more, when it's ripe. Here we have two different varieties. We did smaller blocks of these varieties. This is, on my left here is Arandell, and on my right is Aromella. Arandell is a red and Aromella is a white. They are considered sister varieties. They both came out of the Cornell no spray breeding program, meaning that they're meant to survive and to thrive on very, very minimal spray for pests and disease. And we have found that to be true. They're wonderful grapes to work with. You can see, I mean, look at the size of this vine. That vine is 5 years old, but just look at it. I mean, it's like a tree. They were challenging. They were stubborn to get up to the top wire. They tend to produce a lot of buds along the trunk, and they want to grow low like a bush. But patience is rewarded. Once we got them up to the top wire and allowed the canes to spread laterally like this, forming those arms, they became incredibly productive and just really, really impressive vines. Love the wine too. We finally got a meaningful crop of Arandell last year and vinified it, and so far we really, really like it. It's got a very nice tannic structure, and really nice flavors of elderberry seem to dominate. So we'll see how it ages and how it matures, but so far we're really liking the Arandell. And Aromella is one of our old favorites too. You can see that's an impressive vine too. Growth habits are very similar to its brother or sister Arandell. Again, difficult to get to the top wire, but worth it once you do. And these will be loaded with fruit, and this Aromella produces some wonderful exotic tropical flavors. That's why we use it for blending in a lot of our white wine blends. These rows are newcomers to the vineyard. These two rows here are Itasca, and if we go down a little bit further, these two rows are Crimson Pearl, and I'll start with Crimson Pearl first. It was developed by Tom Plochet, who's the same grape breeder who also bred Petite Pearl, which is one of our favorites. So Crimson Pearl, its sister, is said to show similar qualities, said to have good tannic structure and very nice flavors. So these are growing fine. These were planted 3 years ago, and we'll get a little bit off the Crimson Pearl this year. Very nice so far, but I have to show you this over here. This is Itasca, and if you want to talk about a well-behaved vine in the vineyard, we haven't vinified it yet, so we don't know how the wine is going to be, but this vine here is only 3 years old, and you can see there was no problem whatsoever getting it to grow up to the top wire. Very nice physical structure to the plant itself. Did not produce a lot of buds along the main trunk, so there was not a lot to rub out. It was easy to get it to the top wire, and just look at it. It's just absolutely loaded with clusters this year, and they appear to be nice, loose, open clusters, which is great because if clusters are too tight, it's sometimes too easy for fungus and diseases to get in among the clusters and to rot the berries. But these appear to be nice, loose, open clusters, and there are quite a lot of them for 3-year-old vines. So we will definitely be making some Itasca wine this year, and we'll let you know how it goes. And finally, these guys are a little bit of an experiment. We just put these in this year, so there's not really a lot to look at here, but these are a variety called Cabernet Volos. And interestingly enough, these were developed in Italy. They are a French-American hybrid, so they're very much like the rest of the vines in the vineyard here, in the sense that they have some DNA from Vitis vinifera, and they also have some DNA from wild grapes that grow here in North America. But the interesting thing here in this case is that it was the Italians who developed these, not here in the United States. And if you know anything about the Italian or French wine industry, you'd know that they have frowned on hybrid varieties for a very long time, because if you can grow a variety over in here in the United States just as well as you can grow it over in Italy or in France, then what advantage do they have commercially? So they've stuck with Vitis vinifera, which grows well over in Europe because it doesn't it doesn't succumb to the same sorts of pressures that we have around here in terms of pests and disease. But the Europeans are now beginning to realize, it would seem, that with the changing climate and with additional pest and disease pressure, that they have to start looking at hybrids as well. So they've done that, and these were hard to get our hands on, and we only got, I think, 10 vines. They're a bit of an experiment. We'll see if they'll survive the winter. If they do, and if it's good, I think we will be planting more Cabernet Volos, and you may be hearing a lot about it, but probably not for a few years yet. So thanks for watching our first ever virtual vineyard tour. Be sure to check out our website, www.wachusettvineyards.com, and join us again next time.